How do you make money using house hacking? What does house hacking even mean? You may hear a lot of investors, TikTok investors, and so on tell you hack houses. House hacking works really good and it's going to make you a ton of money and it's going to be a path to wealth. But how? They tell us that, hey, you live in one side, rent the other without going through the specifics. So, how do you really make money through house hacking? And what are some of the details about it? So, today we're going to talk about house hacking, how to use your primary residence as a source of income, as a source of cash flow, and what are the ways you can do to maximize your return. House hacking is usually the easiest and has the least barrier to entry and is going to be the best first step for you to get into real estate investment if you don't have enough capital to get into what we call real estate as a business or traditional investment. So in this video, we're going to go through house hacking. What is it? What are the math? What do the numbers say about it? What are the pros and cons? And what does it mean to you? Let's go. So, what is house hacking? House hacking basically means increase the capitalization that you have for your primary place of residence to earn more income. It's that simple. You remember when the time that you got roommates together and you went to a 2-bedroom apartment, so you split the rent? That is house hacking in a way, is that you cut your living expense by half by having someone else live in the other room and you share the rent. Or that you bought a house and you have an extra bedroom and then you have a student reside there during their year, or you have someone else rent that room. That is a form of house hacking in a way, is that you have your primary place of residence, you rent out parts of it, or you rent out a part of the living space to make extra income from a house that otherwise would be just for you and your family to live in. As investors get savvy, as we get to learn more about the real estate, as we know more right now, there are different ways to do this. Is that it's good to have a roommate, it's good to rent a room in your house, but also you can capitalize it to the max. What does that mean? Meaning buying something like a duplex, triplex, or fourplex. It also means that you get to use the benefits that the lenders, the federal government, even your state gives you as a homeowner to purchase a property and actually earn revenue from it. For example, you can purchase a duplex, triplex, or even a fourplex and then use something like a conventional loan with only 3 to 5% down, or even an FHA loan, because it is a place of living for you, and then use that property, rent out the other units to make extra income. It'll allow you to get some practice with the finances. It'll allow you to get some practice with running the numbers. It'll allow you to get some practice with managing a property, tenant relationship. So when you are ready and have enough capital or equity to go out there and invest in your second property, now you have proper training as well as experience. Obviously, sounds really good and it's a great idea, and you heard other people talk about it, but the fact is that what are the specifics? How can you do it? What are the numbers? Let's go through an example. I'm gonna have my handy Excel spreadsheet again, very easy template. We're gonna go through what is house hacking and what are the numbers. We are back to the Excel world. You may recognize this as this easy, simple template. We've been through this once before, so let's discuss this, because this is an example of you using house hacking to live for free essentially and build equity at the same time. So if you achieve the holy trinity of living for free, having positive cash flow, and building equity, well, that's the best property, and we'll talk about it. If you can see here that this is a triplex that you want to buy and you want to live in, the price is $499,000, $500,000 almost, and these are some of the specifics about the property acquisition, the lending specifics. So I want to go through the income and expense. In this case, your unit is giving you no income, which is fine, you live in it, but these two units, unit 2 and 3, are giving you significant rental income. That's for this year is $35,400, and that's your income. Obviously, with running a property of that size, your expenses get to increase what is the traditional home ownership expenses. So for example, you have some things like property taxes, management fees, utilities, insurance. Again, management fees, we want to not have any for that, because just simply that it is a place of living for you. The assumption is that you get to manage it, maybe get used to doing some handiwork, repairs and things like that, and get acquainted with your local contractor, so you can just manage it yourself. You don't need to have a management company for it. And then your total expenses for the year is $9,460. That gives you NOI of $25,939, which is really good. This building at this price of $499,000 is 5.2% in cap rate. Not terrible, but this market is actually pretty decent. believe it or not, especially if you're in a market like Florida. Here, Southwest Florida, the cap rates are lower than this, so actually this is not a bad deal, all things considered, given that you are not earning any income from one unit. Obviously you live in it, and assuming that in this case your monthly mortgage is $2,005, your cash flow, your annual cash flow is $1,879. You might say, well, it's low for the year, right? Well, it's okay, because you are hitting 2 out of 3, which is you get to live for free, which is awesome. Who doesn't like that housing to be free? And you get to build equity, which is fantastic too, because that added equity can be used for you to take out a loan against it, or to have it as a source for you to go and invest in additional properties. So it achieves the purpose that you wanted to achieve, which is building equity and for you to live for free. It is a cherry on top that the cash flow is $1,879 a year, goes into your pocket, hopefully, and this way it just levels it off. It's not a bad idea. The cash on cash is 1.51. Obviously we don't want to have that kind of focus on cap rate and cash on cash so much that it's a make it or break it, because you're using house hacking in different forms, meaning that you're using it for a different purpose than a pure cash flow or than pure income. But what's the point of it if we can do some due diligence and do some future values? This is just for you to get a good idea of what's going on. Let's say that you might have reservations about the property. We say, well, I'm going to be living here for 2 years, then I'm going to move on to another location. Well, the purpose is that you get to live in this location for 2 years, and then you can actually map out what happens once you move out. You have to sell the property. No, you have a property, you built some equity in it. So here we can see that you are house hacking essentially. This is truly a house hack. And then when you move out, now you're using your triplex as a pure investment property, real estate as a business. Again, we discussed it, and then your numbers changed. Now you can put more value into your cash and cash, cap rate, NOI, cash flow, because you're using this property after you move out as a source of income. So you want to look out and understand that how can you manage revenue and expenses to get a good return. As you can see, if you're a cash flow investor, suddenly your cash flow from 1879 and second year 378, just because the expenses grew with the CPI index. But then when you move out, suddenly you have increased capitalization, you rent out this unit and your cash flow increases to 18,377 and so on for the future years. And this is not a bad idea. Your cash on cash suddenly jumped up to 14%. 14% is really great. Treasury bonds are what, at 3%? So you're getting 14% year to year from this property even after you move out. So understand that house hacking is serving the purpose you want it to serve right now, but also if you build equity and you own the property, even when you move out and hopefully go and buy a nicer house, you can use this property to invest in it fully as a business and then run it, operate it, manage it, and it'll give you positive returns year after year. Obviously, it wouldn't be fair for us not to talk about desired cap rate and our desired pricing in a market that is balanced or that makes sense, which is definitely not this market. You get to play with the numbers and say, hey, what is the ideal cap rate that I want to use? For example, I like 6% because it's comparable to the other properties in the area, and I think that with this cap rate I'll have a good return on it year after year. So you can just basically plug in the numbers and see what's the value that's based on your desired cap rate, and it can give you what is the desired pricing, and this could be the pricing you can offer on and then get a better cap rate. Obviously in this market that's not even possible. That's not going to be possible. You have to probably bid over the asking price. That's just the market we're in. But it's good that to know that if you're looking to see what is the true value of this for me, at what price point I can take advantage of it, you can always run the numbers and see that which value works for you. There you have it. We see that it's a good idea. If you find the right property, you can live in it, you can live for free, you can build equity, and you can have a positive cash flow, and it's your property, you own it. And if you decide to move out, if you decide to move to another state, if you decide to go to another fourplex, another triplex, you still have this as a true triplex or fourplex or duplex to rent out, to maximize your cash flow, to maximize your return, and keep building your portfolio. Alrighty. We discussed the overview of it, we ran the numbers a little bit, we saw that what are the specifics about it is, but now let's talk about some of the pros and cons and some of the things to watch out for. Obviously cons is not necessarily a bad. I always make a joke and say cons is short for considerations, because these are not the reasons for you not to get into house hacking or not to make sure that you buy a property that you can get additional cash flow from. These are just think abouts, things that you need to think about and find remedies or answers or just consider before you getting into it. So when I say cons, think of considerations and things that you can think about. You can understand how they're in play and what you can do to remedy them or what you can do to take advantage of them. So, on to the good stuff. Pros. Number one, you get to use the tools and opportunities that federal government, your state, lenders give you for residential investing. What does that mean? What it means is that federal government and probably your state wants you to buy a house, wants you to be a homeowner, because that's great. That's the American dream. So they give you tools, they give you lending options that makes it easier for you to buy your own house. Now, if you can use those tools not only to find a living space for you and your family, but to get additional cash flow, well, that's even better. For example, things like FHA loan or conventional loans that are 3 to 5% down only, or instead of Florida, Save Our Homes tax deduction, where it makes that if you have a homestead in Florida, your property taxes are very low. So you get to use all those tools in your toolbox, use all those resources that the federal government, lenders, your state gives you to not only find a place for yourself to live, but to invest in real estate. As number two is what we discussed. You get to live for free if you do the numbers right, and you get to build equity in your house. Obviously, there's a huge consideration here is that you have to make sure that the purchase price works for you, but also the annual revenue and expenses work for you as well. Sometimes it happens that if you buy a property at the height of the market and you see that the market is cooling off and the price is going down, that makes your journey to build equity a little tougher. It'll take a little longer. Or that if you buy property that the rental income does not grant you any positive cash flow, or the NOI is very low, or your margins are very thin, it makes it that you are not getting a really good annual return on it. So you want to make sure that you do the numbers, you do exactly what we did here, and make sure that everything works out for you from the numbers perspective. And number three and last is, it would be a good stepping stone for you. You get to learn about all these things. You get to learn about real estate investing. You get to learn about cash flow, collecting rent, maintaining the property, tenant complaints, tenant objections. These are all the skills that you really need when you're investing in real estate property. So get some practice here. The stakes are a little bit lower. You are having a bit of a cushion here. And again, if you have some vacancies, you can fill it out by paying it out of your own pocket in that property. So you get to fill out some of the voids with your own cash, which is kind of harder to do in an investment property where you have a ton of vacancies and now you have a negative cash flow, now you're in deficit and you're looking for a way to fill that out. Here is that a lot of cushions, and that you get to experiment with different models, experiment with different ways to manage your property and see which one works best for you. Now on to considerations. Number one, make sure the numbers work for you. We discussed it. Always do a good analysis. Always take some time to do a very thorough analysis of the property to make sure that the numbers work for you. And that's not just the income and expenses. You want to make sure that the property is in good condition. There's no major deferred maintenance like roof and AC, especially roof and AC. They can really kill your cash flow. And ensure that the tenants are good. They're paying their rent. There's no delinquencies. There's no ongoing issue. There are no issues that could hurt your property or hurt your cash flow. Number two, this could be a good or bad thing, is that you live close to your tenants. Your tenants are essentially your neighbors. So it could be good or bad. You get to be closer to them. You can watch your property because you live in it. So at the same time, tenants have more access to you. If they have any smaller issues, they can come to you. There's going to be this dynamic that your neighbors essentially. So be good. It could be bad depending on your point of view, depending on how you think about it. So this is something to think about. If you really don't care about it, that's fine. But if you really want to be far from your tenants, maybe that's not the best idea for you. And number three is a little bit of a serious topic, and I want to talk about it, and that is make sure that this strategy is the right strategy for you and you do qualify to take advantage of this. What do I mean? What I mean is, don't commit fraud. House hacking is when you need a place to live in, you want to buy a house, you choose to buy multifamily properties to get some income from. That's about it. If you can't do that, there are other ways. We discussed it. You could go through a partnership route or hard money lending, private lending. But be careful. I see a lot of content that says, well, if it's already occupied property, you can just use it and say, hey, I live there, and have your mail go there or have your mail go to one of the units. Please don't do that. That's fraud. And actually, you have to lie on your loan application because you have to take possession of the property after 30 days by law. So if you want to invest in a rental property that you don't have any residency in, there are other avenues to do that. Don't let people tell you that you can commit fraud, you can lie on your application to get ahead. You want to invest in real estate as a business. You want to follow the ethics and rules and guidelines of real estate as well. So don't get into a situation where you start investing in real estate on the wrong foot because it'll always have bad consequences. So make sure it's a good fit for you. If it's not, if you already own a house, or you don't want to move, or you can't increase the cash flow of your current resident, that's fine. There are other ways to do that. There are other avenues. We'll talk about that. I'll teach you about them. But don't try to do something that's not in according to law. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. So just think about that. It's a good opportunity, especially for you if you want to move to another place, if you want to buy a house, if you're someone who has the ability to do that. This is there for you to take advantage of. So just understand that. Fourth is that, especially for single family home and duplexes, just realize that the capitalization and the opportunity to earn cash flow is lower for those properties. Ideally, all of us want to go and buy fourplexes and live in them because that has the higher capitalization. But know that if you're buying a single family home to live in and you want to rent a room, or you're buying a duplex, you want to rent the other side, your cash flow is going to be tighter, and obviously sometimes even there might be a deficit, but it's fine. You can think of it as, okay, I'm reducing my living cost by a lot and building equity, which is still works for you. And number 5, last one, understand that it only works on residential properties, 4 units or less. If you want to invest in a 6plex and live in one, or a 12plex and live in one, you can't do this because from a lending perspective, that's commercial lending, so lower down payment, some of the considerations doesn't work for this. Can you still do that to live for free and build equity? Yes, but you have to use commercial lending, and you have to understand that there are different lending options than actually something like conventional 3 to 5% down or FHA loans. There you go. We discussed house hacking, some of the ways that you can do it. We ran through the numbers, some of the pros, some of the reasons maybe to entice you to go and do it, some of the considerations for you to think about real estate investment. Think about that. Maybe this is a good first step for you. It's a very old school method. It's been around for decades, for centuries, so you can take advantage of it in different degrees, whether it's getting a roommate, renting a room out, all the way to buying a fourplex and then renting all 3 units. Ideally, I'm with you on the fourplex, so chase that. The method has to suit you, and if it doesn't, don't feel afraid. Don't have this fear of missing out, that, oh my god, everyone's saying we should house hack, house hacking is the best thing, and I can't do that, and I'm a failure, it's all over. No, it's not. It's just that this is a very easy gateway to real estate investing. If you can't do that, that's fine. We discussed 2 other methods, which is seeking partnership, seeking like-minded folks, or maybe in investing in REITs, or simply alternate lending. Hard money lenders, private lenders, folks that are there that can actually help you with investment in real estate. For example, some of the lenders, especially hard money lenders, they have a fix and flip packages. Fix and flip package says that you get to buy the home, you get to pay for renovation, and you don't have to pay anything back until you sell the property. So some of the options like that are available as well. So if this is not for you, don't be disappointed, don't be upset. There are different ways to do that. We'll talk about them in details. But know that there's always a way to invest in real estate. There's always a way to learn, at least. Thank you for watching this video. It's been great to talk about house hacking with you. We have a lot of other videos as well. If you are wondering about some of the finance lingo that I discussed, cap rate, I put a video up there as well. If you want to know how to read financial information for a property and the template that I said we discussed before, I put a video up here as well. Check it out. Also, don't forget to check out the channel and socials. I put a lot of specific market specific information and data up there. If you're anywhere in Florida, you're interested in Florida, you're interested in Southwest Florida, always try to watch the content because there's some good information, there's some good data about the market. I'll put them up, and you can take advantage of. You can also reach out to me if you have any questions, anything that wasn't clear, or if you just want to know more about a specific topic that we discussed. I'm more than happy to answer you. But until next time, thank you for watching and keep learning.